He was convicted of kidnapping 26 kids, juveniles, and burying them alive. Were you with Governor Brown then? Judge?
I left in 2015, so I'm unsure of the time period in which that occurred.
This happened in 2015.
That name is not familiar to me. What I can say is those decisions
Do you
are.
remember the case?
I do not.
Okay. When it happened, it got a lot of publicity in California. Did you call Judge Brown or Governor Brown and say, Governor, I love you, but what planet did you just parachute in from? Why have you done this? Judge Coggins, you used to work for Governor Jerry Brown,
That is correct, Senator.
and I believe you advised him on issues regarding parole.
As the governor under the California Constitution, when the parole board recommends that a inmate be paroled, that matter then comes before the governor to determine whether he's going to reverse that recommendation.
Did you
Or
advise him on parole?
I was not advising him. What I provided was a background, all background information. So the nature and circumstances of the particular case that was before us. I was looking at the correctional file. In addition, I was
Do you
reviewing.
remember a parolee named?
Welcome back to The Heritage Hustle, where we pull no punches, stand for truth, and fight to preserve America's values, faith, freedom, and law and order. Today's story is one of those jaw-dropping moments in modern politics that makes you question what happened to justice, what happened to accountability. Buckle up, patriots, because today we're diving into a disturbing parole case out of California and the unbelievable judicial mindset that came out of it. Let's get into it.
Parolee named James Schoenfeld.
I don't, Senator.
Okay. You talked a lot about, as did you all appropriately, about juveniles in your testimony. Governor Brown in 2015 paroled Mr. James Schoenfeld. He was convicted of kidnapping 26 kids, juveniles, and burying them alive. Were you with Governor Brown then? Judge?
I left in 2015, so I'm unsure of the time period in which that occurred.
This happened in 2015.
That name is not familiar to me. What I can say is those decisions
Do you
are.
remember the case?
I do not.
Okay. When it happened, it got a lot of publicity in California. Did you call Judge Brown or Governor Brown and say, Governor, I love you, but what planet did you just parachute in from? Why have you done this?
I did not.
Do you agree with this decision?
I would need to look at the file. I don't know the context. I don't know the background, the insight. And the decision that Governor Brown would make is whether the parolee poses an unreasonable risk to the safety of the community. And
Do you think kidnapping 26 juveniles and burying them alive presents a risk to the community?
I certainly believe that if that individual is convicted of those crimes, which it sounds like he was,
yeah.
he would be a risk to the community.
But you don't have an opinion about whether Governor Brown did the right thing?
Again, Senator, I would have to be able to look at the complete file and all of the considerations required of the governor, who ultimately makes the decision.
So he might have done the right thing, in your opinion?
I would want to look at the complete file in order to make an assessment.
All right, Judge Bossara. Do you remember a case called J&J Sports Products v. If I mispronounced it, sir, please correct me. Ferraris?
I do recall that case, Senator, yes.
Okay, it was pretty recent, 2020. You're a magistrate judge, right?
I am.
And your decisions have to be reviewed by a federal district court judge?
That's correct.
Okay. You made a ruling in that case, and the district court reversed you.
In part, yes.
And the district court said, quote, these are the judge's words, not mine, that you ignored, quote, a large collection of cases in this district holding that essentially identical allegations are sufficient to state a claim. So your boss said you just ignored a whole line of cases. What's going on here?
Well, Senator Kennedy, the way I recall that case was there's a split in authority about claims that can be brought under the Copyright Act. And there were, in addition to the cases that the district judge cited, there was a whole bevy of other cases going in the other direction. And the Court of Appeals had not ruled on it.
Yeah.
And
But the judge didn't say you looked at both line of cases and decided one was more accurate than the other. He said you totally ignored a line of cases. Did you just disagree with those line of cases?
Senator, I would never ignore a whole line of cases, and I know that was a very lengthy opinion that I issued, and it's my practice in the 1,000 opinions.
Well, I'm going to run out of time. I'm sorry to cut you off, Judge. I don't mean any disrespect. The district court judge says you ignored those cases.
I would respectfully say, as I don't...
Was he wrong?
I'm not going to call a colleague wrong, but I can say that in every case where I write a lengthy opinion, I read all of the applicable authorities. And I know in that particular situation, there's a line of other cases that I have read, and I did so in all of my decisions, and I can expect that I did so in that one as well.
But why did you ignore the line of cases is my point. I can understand you saying, well, there are two line of cases and they conflict, and I find the reasoning more persuasive in this line. The district judge reversed you, said you just totally ignored them. That worries me.
He reversed me only in part, Senator, and in those line of cases, I think there's a split of authority at the district court level. There's no governing Court of Appeals decision or a U.S. Supreme Court decision, which my oath requires me to follow.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
So here's the deal. A man named James Schoenfeld, convicted of kidnapping 26 schoolchildren and burying them alive, was paroled in 2015 under Governor Jerry Brown. You heard that right. A man who traumatized 26 innocent children walked free. Now, during a recent Senate confirmation hearing, Judge Coggins, who once worked closely with Governor Brown, was questioned by Senator John Kennedy, one of the few voices in Washington who still has a spine. And what did Judge Coggins say when asked about this case? I don't remember. I'd have to look at the file. I provided background information, but I didn't advise. Folks, if that doesn't sound like bureaucratic tap dancing, I don't know what does. Let me ask you something. If 26 kids being buried alive doesn't make an impression on someone involved in the parole process, then what does? And here's the kicker. This wasn't some obscure backroom decision. This case was all over California, national headlines. Yet Coggins, with a straight face, claims he doesn't remember? He wasn't sure if he was still there when it happened? Come on. This is exactly what the left's soft-on-crime agenda looks like. They hide behind legal jargon, pretend not to remember, and excuse outright failures to protect the public, all while pushing policies that give criminals more rights than the victims. And when Senator Kennedy, God bless him, asks, "Did you call Governor Brown and say, 'What planet did you parachute in from?' the judge just shrugs it off. Not a word of condemnation, no moral compass, just another day in the liberal legal machine. Senator Kennedy moves on to Judge Bossara, who recently had a decision reversed because, get this, he allegedly ignored an entire line of case law. That's not a small thing. That's not just a technicality. That's a federal judge ignoring precedent and making decisions based on who knows what. And what does Judge Bossara say in his defense? Oh, there's a split in authority. I would never ignore case law. I read all applicable authorities. But the district judge, the one who reversed him, didn't see it that way. This is what happens when ideology replaces integrity. Folks, this isn't just about a parole decision or a court case. This is about trust in our judicial system. This is about what kind of America we're going to leave behind. One where criminals walk free and victims are forgotten, or one where justice is blind and evil is punished without apology. This is why we fight. This is why we speak up. Because the left is filling our courts with judges who can't or won't say, yes, a child kidnapper is a threat to society. Think about that. At the Heritage Hustle, we believe in truth, in justice, and in America's founding principles. If you're tired of the left's excuses, the soft-on-crime policies, and the spineless answers, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who still believes in common sense. Let them know we see what's happening. We won't be silent. And to every unelected bureaucrat, every soft judge, and every woke governor handing out second chances to monsters, we're watching. This is the Heritage Hustle. God bless you, God bless our Constitution, and God bless the United States of America.